Unit 1, Lesson 10. Thomas Jefferson and the Declaration of Independence. For Thomas Jefferson, the pen truly was mightier than the sword. By Kathy Wilmore. As a boy, Thomas Jefferson was shy and often tongue-tied. He had a habit of always singing or humming to himself, and preferred the company of books to that of most people. Yet this quiet young man's passion for freedom carried him into a very public life. For Thomas Jefferson, the pen truly was mightier than the sword. From his pen flowed some of the world's most famous and influential words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. For more than 2 centuries, those simple words from the preamble, or introduction, to the Declaration of Independence have inspired lovers of freedom everywhere. A gifted writer. Thomas Jefferson was born on April 13, 1743, in Shadwell, Albemarle County, Virginia. A studious young man with freckles and thick red hair, he spent 15 hours a day reading and writing, and 3 hours practicing his violin. He had a way with words, on paper anyway. Young Tom once hoped to impress a girl he loved with his talk. As he wrote to a friend, I had dressed up in my own mind such thoughts as occurred to me, in as moving language as I knew how, and expected to have performed in a tolerably credible manner. Unfortunately, he failed miserably with the girl. Jefferson soon found a way to use his moving language to greater effect. For some time the American colonies had been buzzing with rebellion against their ruler, King George III of Great Britain. On April 19, 1775, the buzzing turned into battles in Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. The nation was at war. A few weeks later, the colony of Virginia sent Jefferson to Philadelphia as a delegate to the Second Continental Congress. Jefferson was one of the youngest delegates, and probably the quietest. During the whole time I sat with him in the Congress, wrote Massachusetts delegate John Adams, I never heard him utter 3 sentences together. Not everyone in Congress wanted independence from Britain. As the war dragged on, though, more colonists and Congress members talked of making a clean and total break. On April 12, 1776, North Carolina gave its delegates the go-ahead to vote for independence. Virginia soon did the same. On June 7th, Richard Henry Lee, a Virginia delegate, proposed that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. Congress appointed a committee to write up that proposal for further debate. John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, Robert R. Livingston, and Thomas Jefferson. For several days the men hashed out ideas. Only 4 took part. Franklin was sick at the time. Once they decided on a framework, someone had to fill in the gaps and write the proposal. The group chose Jefferson, who was known as a fine writer. Being chosen was no special honor. Writing congressional proposals was a common task. At the time, no one had any idea how important this one would turn out to be. Number 7. Take turns reading the 4th and 5th paragraphs to your partner. Then, working together, use details from the text to answer the questions on the right. Jefferson was one of the youngest delegates, and probably the quietest. During the whole time I sat with him in the Congress, wrote Massachusetts delegate John Adams, I never heard him utter 3 sentences together. Not everyone in Congress wanted independence from Britain. As the war dragged on, though, more colonists and Congress members talked of making a clean and total break. On April 12, 1776, North Carolina gave its delegates the go-ahead to vote for independence. Virginia soon did the same. The text says, "Not everyone in Congress wanted independence from Britain. Using what you've learned in this unit, what was the name of the group who did not want independence from Britain?" To respond to this question, you can use the sentence starter, blank were the people who did not want independence from Britain. If you need more time to respond to that question or to write down the answer, please pause the video now before I ask the next question. Next question. What was the main event described in these paragraphs? To respond to this question, you can use the sentence starter, the main event described in these paragraphs was about the colonists blank. You may pause the video now to finish responding to any of the questions. Number 8 has a misprint. It should read, "Now reread paragraph 6 in the section A Gifted Writer, then use details from the text to answer the question on the right." On June 7th, Richard Henry Lee, a Virginia delegate, proposed that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. Congress appointed a committee to write up that proposal for further debate. John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, Robert R. Livingston, and Thomas Jefferson. The word dissolved means brought to an end. What did Richard Henry Lee mean when he said that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved? To respond to this question, you can use the sentence starter, Richard Henry Lee meant that the American colonies should blank. Can you use what you know of the word dissolved to help you solve this problem? You can pause the video now if you need more time to finish responding to that question. Next question. What does the word debate mean? What words in the text make you think so? To respond to this question, you're going to find the word debate in the text, you're going to circle it, you're going to look for context clues to help you figure out what that word means, and then you're going to start off your sentence with this sentence starter. The word debate means blank. I think this because in the text it says blank. And notice whenever you pull information out of the text, you're going to put quotation marks around it. Pause the video now to finish responding to that question. Next question. What were the two main events described in these paragraphs? So if you go back to the text, you can think about what it is, what are the two different events that were being described, and then I'll give you a little hint by giving you these sentence starters. Number 1, on June 7th, blank. So you're going to go back to the text, look for what happened on June 7th. And 2, a committee was appointed to blank. You can look for those words in the text to help you figure out what two events were described in these paragraphs. You may pause the video now to finish responding to any of the questions. There was also a misprint in number 9. It should read the 7th and 8th paragraph, then use details from the text to answer the question on the right. For several days, the men hashed out ideas. Only 4 took part. Franklin was sick at the time. Once they had decided on a framework, someone had to fill in the gaps and write the proposal. The group chose Jefferson, who was known as a fine writer. Being chosen was no special honor. Writing congressional proposals was a common task. At that time, no one had any idea how important this one would turn out to be. The text says, at the time, no one had any idea how important this one would turn out to be. Why did this proposal turn out to be so important? If you're not sure how to respond to this question, think about the text as a whole. We're learning about the Declaration of Independence, and we learned that the proposal that Jefferson was writing is the Declaration of Independence. So when you're answering this question, you're going to use the sentence starter. This ended up being so important because blank. So I just gave you a really big hint. You can go back to the text. You can think about the text as a whole to help you respond to this question. You may pause the video now to finish responding to any of the questions. Number 10. Examine the picture and caption on page 9. Then use details from the text to answer the questions on the right. The picture is shown over here all the way to the right, and the caption reads, Jefferson's rough draft of the Declaration shows his neat handwriting and his struggle to find exactly the right words to convey his thoughts. What is this a picture of? To respond to this question, you're going to use information from the caption, and you can use the sentence starter I'm providing for you. According to the caption, this is a picture of blank. Go ahead and fill that information in now. If you need more time, you can pause the video now to respond to this question. Next question. What inferences can you make about Thomas Jefferson based on this picture and caption? Remember, to make an inference means you're figuring out what the text is telling you. You're using your background knowledge and evidence from the text to figure out something new that is not directly stated. So what can you tell about Thomas Jefferson based on the picture and the caption? You're going to start off your sentence by saying, I can infer that Thomas Jefferson was blank because I see that he blank. And so you're using the structure here. I infer because, so you're providing evidence from the text to support your inference. You may pause the video now to finish responding to any of the questions. Text structure. Number 11. What is the structure of the section, A Gifted Writer? What words in the text make you think so? As a reminder, the text structure is how the author has organized the text that you are reading. There are 5 different text structures you learned about in Lesson 8. But for today, I'm going to help you narrow it down to just 2, and you can choose from those 2 which you think this text is structured like. So it's either going to be description or chronology. I want you to take a look at the signal words up here that will help you determine the difference. For a descriptive text, you'll see the words many, some, most, one, for example. You would hear the topic word repeated over and over again. For chronology, you would see words like before, in the beginning, to start, first, next, then, during, after, finally, and then you would see a lot of dates that would be in order. So a description, the goal of the description is to describe a topic by listing characteristics, features, or examples. And the goal of chronology is to describe a sequence of events or measuring time. So as you look back at the text, I want you to think about the goal and look for those signal words that will help you figure out what text structure this section, A Gifted Writer, has been written in. Alright, now that I've had a chance to look back at the different text structures and look at the keywords, I'm going to look back through the text, and I notice that there are a lot of dates in the text. So I'm going to go ahead and circle those. There are some other signal words that tell us about time, and so I'm going to circle those as well. Please do so the same in your text. To respond to this question then, you're going to use the sentence starter. This section is organized in blank. I was able to figure this out because I saw blank and blank in the text. Go ahead and fill out that information now. You may pause the video now to finish responding to any of the questions. Summarize. After thinking more closely about this section of the text, Summarize what you think the section "A Gifted Writer" is mostly about. Use several specific details from the text in your summary. Remember that a good summary includes the main idea and at least 3 important details in chronological order or in the order that you see them in the text. So get a good summary includes the main idea and 3 important details that help support that main idea. To write your summary, I've actually given you some sentence starters. You'll need to fill in the blanks with details from the text. You'll need to write all the words that I have written up here, but where I've put the blank line, you're going back to the text and you're finding information to fill in to those spaces. When you've filled this out and copied it down, you will have a very strong summary of the section "A Gifted Writer." Remember that when we're starting off a summary, we want to start with the title of the text or the section that we're writing about. So you'll notice up here that we're going to start with the words, "A gifted writer is about blank and how he blank." So go back to the text if you're not sure what to fill into that information, and now you can write your summary. You may pause the video now to finish responding to any of the questions.